Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating piece of source material from Kismat Astro. We're going to be breaking down their weekly zodiac forecast and spiritual remedies for a super crucial window, June 30th through July 6th. Now, right off the bat, the source makes a huge point about this specific week. Why? Because it marks the exact transition between the end of June and the very beginning of July. According to Kismat Astro, this transitional window is absolutely critical for every single astrological sign. It's a time of shifting energies, and we're going to unpack exactly what that means for you based on their report.
So, let's get right into it. The entire foundation of Kismat Astro's forecast this week revolves around one big question. What will this shift between June and July actually bring to your life? You see, they note that the stars are taking up fresh positions, and these new alignments are going to directly impact your career, your personal life, literally your general trajectory. The source approaches this whole mystery not as something to stress over, but as a roadmap. It's like a giant puzzle, and we're going to map out those impacts for you element by element so you can see exactly where you stand.
But wait a second, before we get to the specific signs, there's a really important note for our time together today. Kismat Astro doesn't just give you a forecast and leave you hanging, they actually prescribe a highly specific spiritual solution. Yep, they promise a special practice, known as a Wazifa, that's designed specifically to clear all the hurdles and obstacles you might face this week. I'll be breaking down the exact steps, timings, and phrases of that remedy in the second half of this explainer. So if you're looking for the practical application of all this, you're definitely going to want to stick around to get that methodology locked down. All right, let's jump straight into the first section, the elemental forecast.
To make this super accessible, the source actually groups the star positions into 4 elemental categories, starting off with our fire signs, that's Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Kismat Astro frames your energy right now as incredibly ambitious. The forecast says you're starting this new month infused with just a completely new passion. But it's not just an internal feeling. It has very real external applications. Specifically, the source highlights that fire signs have extremely bright chances for career promotions right now. So the big takeaway here? A massive surge of fresh energy is directly fueling your professional game.
Now, shifting gears to the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, we see a pretty brilliant contrast. While the fire signs are climbing the career ladder, the story for earth signs is deeply rooted in resolution and relief. The forecast points straight to an improvement in your financial situations. But honestly, perhaps even better, if you've had tasks or projects that were just endlessly delayed or totally stuck, well, the stars indicate this is the week they finally get completed. It's all about tying up loose ends and seeing some tangible financial progress.
Moving right along to our air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Here, the focus totally shifts away from work and money and zeroes in on your interpersonal life. The source emphasizes that real clarity is going to come to your relationships during this June to July transition. And along with this, Kismat Astro drops a very specific piece of advice. You need to actively spend quality time with your partner. The stars are lining up to clear away the confusion, but you've got to put in the dedicated time to actually capitalize on it.
And finally, we round out our elemental breakdown with the water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Now, the tone here is decidedly more cautionary, but still super proactive. The main directive from the source: take special care of your health this week. Alongside that, they advise you to consciously channel your energy into positive activities. So basically, be fiercely protective of your physical well-being and your mental focus. Don't let your energy get drained by negativity during this transitional window.
Okay, moving into the next part of our breakdown, the spiritual remedy, or the Wazifa.
So, Kismat Astro specifically prescribes this practice for the exact dates of June 30th to July 6th. But why are we doing this? Well, the source explicitly outlines a twofold purpose. First, it's designed to completely wipe away your worries and give you relief from the week's anxieties. Second, it's intended to bring barakat, which translates to profound blessings and increase, specifically to your rizq, which basically means your daily sustenance, wealth, and provisions. That's the ultimate goal you're working toward here, according to the source.
To make this as easy as possible to digest, I've mapped out the exact sequence they provided. Honestly, just think of it like a 3-step sandwich. Step 1 is opening the practice by reciting the Durud-i Ibrahimi, a specific prayer of peace, exactly 3 times. Step 2 is the core recitation, which we'll look at in just a second. And then, Step 3, you close the practice the exact same way you started by reciting the Durud-i Ibrahimi exactly 3 times again. Memorizing this opening and closing structure is totally vital to the methodology.
But equally as important as the steps is the timing. Kismat Astro is crystal clear on when this needs to happen to actually be effective.
This entire sequence is to be performed after every single namaz, or daily prayer. So actually, scratch the idea of this being a once-a-day thing. It requires consistent integration into your daily routine for the entire week.
Okay, now we move into the core recitations for step 2. And I want you to lock this number in your head. 7. This exact repetition count is absolutely critical to the first half of the core practice. Let's look at exactly what phrase pairs with it.
For that count of 7 times, the phrase to recite is Ya Fatahu. According to Kismat Astro's precise instructions, right after your opening prayer, you recite this specific phrase exactly 7 times. No more, no less.
But immediately following that, the practice shifts gears dramatically. You drop the number 7 entirely, and you jump all the way up to 100. Let's reveal the second half of the core recitation.
Yara Zaku, so to put that whole middle section together exactly as the source laid it out, you recite Ya Fatahu 7 times, and then immediately follow it up with Yara Zaku 100 times. Once you finish that, you move on to your closing step, and that's it. That is the complete, unmodified remedy detailed for this week.
So, what's the payoff? What happens when you follow this whole structure? Well, reporting directly from Kismat Astro, their overarching claim is that completing this Wazifa will, quote, make your stars better in your favor. They present it as a literal mechanism to alter the astrological impacts we talked about earlier, basically smoothing out the rough edges of the transition and aligning the energy to benefit you.
And that brings us to the last section, the final message.
We've covered the shifting elements. We've broken down the spiritual remedies step by step. In their closing, Kismat Astro actually invites their audience to engage with them directly. If you're looking for highly specific details tailored exactly to your unique sign, beyond just the broad elemental groups, they ask you to drop your name in their comments. And of course, they encourage viewers to subscribe so you don't miss out on these weekly updates.
Which brings us to the very end of today's explainer. We've seen the career pushes for fire, financial wins for earth, relational clarity for air, and health cautions for water, plus that structured Wazifa. So based on everything we've unpacked, my question to you is this: how will you align your energy during this transitional week? Thank you guys so much for joining me to explore this fascinating breakdown of the shifting stars, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.